everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So made a bit of progress since last time. Got more of the peacock's head done, most of his eye. That eye was a killer, man. I think there were like 30 colors in it. Yeah, and you can see by all the whack ton of threads I've got parked there, and that's not even all of them because some of them I already finished that color and ended it off. So yeah, it was a lot, but the detail is good, so it is worth it in the long run. But yeah, I've often said this is why I've not chosen to do a max color, because yeah, even regular color, there's a lot of confetti. So try not to tie knots in my thread to start out. Oh my gosh. There we go. Yeah, it's still smoky out here, unfortunately. So again, yeah, if my voice sounds kind of rough, sorry. That is why. At least it was cool enough that I was able to turn my oven on the other day, so I made some fresh bread. Yeah, and I didn't put enough flour in it, I think, because the dough looked really sticky, but I baked it anyway and it still tasted okay. So a little bit saltier than usual because of course the proportions were off, but yeah, it still tasted good. The texture was still okay, so I'll call that a success. Yeah, I had to refill my my flour container in the midst of scooping in the flour, and I think that I lost count. I'm very bad for that. In fact, when I make gingerbread at Christmas, it's a big batch, and it calls for 6 cups of flour. So I actually keep a piece of paper with me, and every time I put a cup of flour into the mixer, I put a little mark down on the piece of paper. That way I know I counted it correctly, because yeah, one year we miscounted the amount of flour and the gingerbread house collapsed because it didn't have enough structure to it. And my son said that we made a gingerbread rubble instead of a gingerbread house. So yeah, the rest of it ended up becoming cookies, since those, it's not as critical for them to hold the shape. So yeah. Yeah, although I haven't had to cook for the last couple of days because we ordered some Chinese takeout. Oh, I said the Chinese place needs a better phone because it's very static and they have a hard time hearing you. And I was trying to order hot and sour soup, and they kept thinking I was trying to order sweet and sour pork, which we don't eat pork. So I kept saying, no, no pork. I want hot and sour soup, and finally they're like, well, do you want sweet and sour chicken instead? I'm like, no, I want hot and sour soup. So anyway, finally, after they understand me, the lady says, oh, no, we don't have any of that. I said, oh, okay, fine. That's fine. Just I'll get the rest of the stuff I ordered from you. My order arrives and includes hot and sour soup, and they didn't charge me for it. So bonus. Oh, it was funny though. Yeah, although they're pretty good about that. Almost every time I order from them, they throw in some free egg rolls or whatever. Well, I guess because we order a fair bit so that we have enough food for like 3 or 4 days. Yeah, my husband always says, well, do you want to go to the restaurant? I said, yeah, but for the amount I pay for takeout is the same as one meal in the restaurant, and then I don't have to cook for like 3 days. So yeah, I'd rather have food delivery. Yeah, not that I don't mind, going to a sit-down restaurant once in a while, but yeah. Yeah, because we did go out to Boston Pizza to celebrate when our son passed his driver's test, so yeah. Yeah, it's still weird having him driving. It's going to take me a while to get used to that. Yeah, my husband will often come home for lunch in the middle of the day, and we used to always say, which one of us was going to pick him up from school. And as my husband's leaving, I'm about to say, "Oh, do you want me to get him?" And then, oh, wait, neither of us has to go get him. He can drive himself now. uh, okay, 37:47. Oh, pardon me. Huh. Yeah, so gonna get more of this guy's head and maybe into his beak, although I think that's more in the next diagonal, but we're gonna get more of his face and his eye done today, I should think. Yeah, these colors are kind of going opposite of my diagonal, so I end up having to change threads more often, but that's okay. Okay, I think I can probably get a few more stitches out of that piece, even if it is short, so yeah. Okay, just gonna take a look here at this one that we have parked here. There's nowhere to carry it downwards, and yeah, it is long enough to carry upwards, so that means I'm going to switch tactics a bit here and fill in the stuff that is to the left of it so that I can do those without going out of order. Okay, 6, 4, 8. A little bit of a longer carry, so I just tacked that down so it won't go anywhere. Yeah. It's a bit of a cooler day, but I actually prefer that. Yeah, I'm someone who does not like to be hot and sweaty at all. Okay. Okay, so 799. Yeah, so continuing to play the new Legend of Zelda game, and they have you can fuse things together, and so one of our friends, he's playing it too, and he said he was trying to fuse an arrow with something, and instead of picking like a bomb or something, he accidentally picked a piece of meat. So he shot it anyway, and it worked. So he said, "Yeah, I killed the bad guy with my lunch." Oh dear. Yeah, you can end up with some pretty funny combinations. All right, let's see. This one is short. Okay. Yeah, I can see I'm probably going to be carrying threads up along this area for a bit because they're parked down lower and the color kind of travels up and towards the right there. So but yeah, yesterday working on this eye, I swear I did almost know where I did 2 stitches of the same color in a row. Yeah. So it took me like, almost 2 hours to get through that part because, yeah, so many color changes, but I'm happy with the result. Then I did a bunch of his neck because that gave me a bit of a break because, yeah, his neck is like 2 colors, so... There, so yeah, all of those so that I could do these two. And all the stitches in between them are not done yet, so this is a longer carry, but it's going to get secured as I stitch over it with other stitches. So no problem. Oh, I almost put that in the wrong spot. Yeah, that would be bad. Try that again. Yeah, there we go. I was double checking all the other threads parked around it and the grid lines and realized, yeah, they did not match, so I had done something wrong. Oh, this one was out in my tray. Oops. Still in the fairly early stages of this project, so I don't have everything memorized, what symbols or what colors I have out in my working tray yet. Okay, we'll get to do a few in a row here of the same color for a little break from confetti. Oh, right. I have to go the other way because I want to park in the upper right, always parking in the same spot. That's my one strict rule. Otherwise, I will mix myself up. I've done it before. Lots of threaded needles here, but some colors here are going to end soon, so hopefully I can keep from tangling. Yeah, I'm blasting through this color pretty quickly. There's over 9,000 stitches of it in this pattern, so yeah, and if I go sort of down his neck, yeah, there's a whole bunch coming up. So, and then in the next pass, of course, as well, we get more of his neck and his chest, which is, yeah, tons and tons of this color. So, okay, so yeah, this is one I'm going to finish and be done with. This is all I'm going to get out of this. Out of this piece here. I'm a little past the diagonal, so it's kind of where I'm going to cut it off. I think, yeah, because otherwise I'd have to do a whole bunch of stuff above this, and I'm going to do that sort of on my next diagonal. So yeah, here is one I can tie off and be done with. Okay, so I'm going to see if I have needles on these threads or not. Yeah, that one is threaded, so might as well do a couple more stitches before I park it. Even if it is going into the next diagonal, that's fine. Well, I find not being strict with the diagonal lines also helps to prevent any potential lines showing up in your work, which you don't want. Not sure if this one is, no, I didn't think it was. Yeah, these are not threaded, so I'm going to set them all aside and just go back over to the left and work out again. Oh my gosh, you are just not wanting to cooperate. Oh, went right beside the eye of the needle. That will not work. Okay, so I think, yeah, I'm going to use different threads for those just because of the way they're positioned across this area. Yeah, so I think we'll get his eye done today. looks really good. If I do say so myself. Gosh. Oh, there we go. Ugh. Finding a hard time finding the right spot there. Yeah, it might take me an hour just to get 100 stitches here because this is such a high confetti area. Yeah, I got like 700 stitches done yesterday because I was working on some of the background and down his neck, which was a lot fewer color changes, so yeah. I was kind of putting off this confetti work until today, so for when I felt a little more brain, it was more fresh. Yeah, I was getting to the end of the day yesterday, and it was like, yeah, having to go really carefully through confetti. I was going to make mistakes, so. Okay, that one is kind of spread around a bit. May have to do something out of order. We'll see here. Okay, I'm going to check the threads that are here. All right, that one's medium length. That one's about a medium too, so yeah. Okay, I think I know what I'm going to do here. Just going to do those with this thread. I think that will use it up. And then we'll come from the other side with that other thread. And we'll probably have to add another one as well because, yeah, they're both medium length. So I think we're going to run out of the attached threads before we run out of stitches to do here. Yeah, perfect. stitch was just looking a little funny. There, that's better. Okay. Ooh. Oh, goodness. Oh, gosh. Okay, there we go. That's better. Okay, I think I can actually do this with one thread and not close anything in. I mean, a little bit of jumping around, but I think we'll get it. 9:31. Yeah, that last one with the knot is what I get when I don't sort of hold the thread up and let it untwist before using it. Once you pull it out of the out from the other threads, yeah, it's usually a good idea. I like to hold it up, let it untwist so that it doesn't knot up while you're using it. Smooth it out a bit before folding it in half. Otherwise, yeah, the strands can kind of twist around each other and then you get tangles and knots. So I'm going to do those. And then I'm going to part this one. Oh, what am I doing here? Hang on a minute. I think I've messed something up, haven't I? Yeah, I sure have. Oh, okay, I know what I did. Oh, silly me. Yeah, I did something wrong here. Oh, okay. Yeah, I sure did. Oh, yeah, that would pull back easier if you undid that other half stitch there. Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, see, this is what happens when I didn't read my grid lines. Okay. Now you get to watch me fix my mistake. Okay. Thread back on that thread card there so that I don't. Yeah, this was over by one stitch. I forgot to do another one in between it. Okay. Let's find my little seam ripper. careful, of course, to only catch this thread that I actually want to cut. There. I said work on this when my mind was more fresh, but I'm still out of it. Okay, so that means that what I did was this one was over by too many, so I missed doing, that's what I did. I miscounted a stitch there, darn it. Oh, okay, well, yeah, as I say, when I make a mistake in an area that's a focal point like his eye, I am not going to leave it. If it was background, I don't worry so much, but yeah. Yeah, I blew it there. Okay, actually, okay, this means I don't have to rip this one out entirely. Because, so I'll do it out of order this time because, yeah, this way I don't have to rip out this thread and reattach it. That would just be silly. So do that, and then that means, yeah, this color that I messed up. Okay, no problem. We will get it. Yes, so doing that color there. Yeah, the rest of the colors are fine. It's just I did 2 stitches there when I should have done 3. Okay. Okay, let's go back. Now we'll do this correctly. Aye. Yeah, once again, it was my grid lines. It saved me. I suddenly realized the stitches I was putting in didn't match with the grid on my fabric, so something had to be wrong. I usually try to cross-check sort of before I secure the thread to my fabric, but sometimes I miss it. Okay. Is this one long enough to reach? No, it's not. I didn't think so. Okay, so we will attach a new one. Yeah, I don't want to mess around with making mistakes in such a detailed and focal point of the design. Yeah, if it's like 2 really similar colors close to each other that I messed up and it's in the background, then I often leave it. But yeah, those colors were quite different. One's green and one's blue. And yeah, it's right in his eye, so I don't want to mess with that. Goodness. Oh. Oh, goodness. Really messing up here. There we go. Okay, yeah, I think with this one, yeah, I actually am going to have to do something out of order. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah, I suppose I could have parked up here with that sort of U-turn stitch, but oh well. But that would have meant more traveling back and forth with that color. So yeah, sometimes I'll go out of order and do it that way. Okay, so do that one first, and then I can do all three of those U-turn symbol stitch at once, be done with it. So yeah, there we go. There, so we filled that gap in. Okay, actually, yeah, I was thinking I was going to need separate threads for these, but maybe not. Let's see how long this piece is. No, I will, yeah. It's too short to do and carry up there, I think. Which is probably why I chose it. at any rate, I'm going to kind of stop there because that's really where my diagonal is. Oh, that was really off. It was like in the middle of that square instead of where it should have been. That's better. Well, I think, yeah, there's one lone stitch down here. So I'm going to carry this to it. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, because it'll be just long enough that I can get the one stitch out of that thread. Okay, so yeah, I'll just set these aside, I think. Take off any needles I've still got attached. There's only a couple. Yeah, there we go. And then I'm gonna continue in this diagonal here, working on his eye. Lots of pin stitches here because we have lots of confetti. Yeah, I think it's going to take us an hour to get to 100 stitches here because of all this confetti. Yeah, I can tell the smoke isn't as bad in the air today though because my eyes aren't burning, so that's good. Yeah, the last few days I was having to use a lot of eye drops because, yeah, they were getting very irritated. Yeah, there we go. Thinning out these threads a bit as we get to the edge of his eye. Okay, this piece is not very long. We'll see what we can get out of it. Well, it might be enough to do this whole section of color here. We'll see. That one looks funny. Yeah, that looks better. Again, working around his eye. It's a big focal point, so really want my stitches to look perfect. Ah, I did not think that this thread would be enough, but it actually was just enough. Perfect. I love when it works out that way. Thought I felt a knot back there, but there isn't one. Oh, no, that didn't go. Yeah, if that loop doesn't want to pop to the back, then you didn't get it in quite the right place in the fabric. I think it was caught on the grid line. There we go. Yeah, you have to be able to get your needle to go right back down exactly where it came up in order to ensure that loop pops to the back and doesn't show on the front. We finally passed 100, but yeah, it took almost an hour to do it. Whew. That confetti really slows you down. Getting harder to find a vertical thread here that doesn't have a pin stitch in it. Hmm. Yeah, I find confetti really slows you down when your threads aren't already attached too. It takes longer to locate the envelope and find your piece of thread and put it on the needle than it does to actually make the stitch. Well. That's just the nature of the hobby, I suppose. I'll get both strands of that, not just the one. Yeah, finally not having pet hair in my work, but now that makes me kind of sad since, yeah, she's gone. Ugh. Yeah, every time I prepare vegetables and I'm throwing the scraps in the compost instead of saving them for her. Yeah. Or the other day opening a bag of pre-cut broccoli and it was full of leaves because I guess they're trying to make the weight or whatever. And I was sad because we don't eat the leaves, but our guinea pig, she loved them. Yeah. Sometimes when I was buying like a whole thing of lettuce, not just the crowns, but I would, if there were leaves left in the bin, I would take them and put them in the bag too. I'm sure people were thinking, why the heck is she buying those? But yeah, it was for the guinea pig because she loved them. It was a treat for her because she didn't get them very often, so yeah. Although her favorite food, she never got sick of them. Like the bell pepper centers, yeah. Yeah, we knew that she was near the end when I gave her one and she sort of nibbled at it a little bit, but she left most of it the last day or so that she was with us, yeah. So we knew if she wasn't eating all of that, then yeah, she was not feeling well, poor thing. Yeah, like I say, she lived a good long life, but it's never long enough for us, hey? Yeah, good long life for a guinea pig, but yeah, it's never quite long enough. Yeah, my poor mother-in-law, one of hers passed very unexpectedly. She didn't have any signs of being ill or anything, and yeah, she just went to sleep and didn't wake up in the morning. I said, I'm glad it was peaceful, but yeah, it's so hard to lose them. To lose our little companions. So now we're getting back into the colors of his head, so I'd say that eye is done. Here's looking at you, kid. Yeah, that was a lot of work, but it sure looks good, I have to say. Probably look even better once I back up and see it from further away. Okay, let's see. That is a long piece. Okay, so I'm going to actually trying to think, do I want to do that or actually I've already threaded this, so I might as well just do this one stitch. But what I may actually do is add a new piece of thread and come from the bottom up. That's what I think I'm going to do there. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking I was going to carry this thread all the way down, but no, actually, I won't. Yeah, going to kind of divide this sort of right about here where that diagonal line goes. Color in what I'm going to do here. A little break from that confetti now. Yeah, get to do some bigger blocks so that will go by much quicker. so I said 5.5% by the end of the month. I think that's doable. Although if I don't make that goal, that's fine. Not working on a deadline. It'll be done when it gets done. But I'm thinking end of next year, end of 2024 is my estimate for when this will be done. We will see. I got through that whole ton of parked threads, but of course there's more for the next diagonal, so yeah. Okay, 820. Yeah, as you can see, going down into his neck here, there's a lot more of the same colors, so that'll zip by pretty quick, I think. Yeah, the first 100 stitches took forever, but the second 100 are going to happen a lot quicker. It almost felt like there was a knot, but no, it's smooth, so we're good. Okay. Yeah, when you have to only switch between two colors, it goes much quicker. Oh dear. I hate when it does that. There we go. Oh, smoke is clearing a bit, finally getting to see some blue sky, so that's nice. Did it again. Not quite right. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of skip a bit there, but this way I don't have to do another thread. The carries across the back are not too long for this, so. My goodness, I seem to be doing this a lot today. Yeah, just kind of not coming up quite right. Then the stitches don't lie, the threads end up wrapped around each other instead of lying next to each other, which is what I want. Yeah, I want them to go side by side so that they look nice and neat, not all twisted and strange. Okay, so I am kind of going past the diagonal now at this point, but I'm just following the colors. There is still going to be some for the next diagonal, but Yeah, one hazard of having so many pin stitch there's a lot of ends that can get pulled to the front of the work. This is kind of nice. His neck is following the way it's curving is following the direction of the diagonal, so yeah, that makes it easier. Oh my gosh, again. I swear I do know how to stitch properly. But today I am just off. Yeah, the nice thing with these bigger blocks, you can really see your progress. So yeah, we were about halfway across his eye, so we did quite a bit this morning. Oh my gosh. Ended up pulling only one strand through the eye of the needle. There we go. To even them out again. Piece of lint got stitched in. We don't want that. we're past 200 now. So yeah, the first 100 stitches took forever, but the next 100 are zipping right by. Okay, I think we'll get these 3 here. Yeah, then that's going to be it for that thread, and then I'm going to switch to the other color, navy blue, and work down towards here. Yeah, I really like Pattern Keeper here because there's these filled in circles here and then these filled in squares. Yeah, they can kind of be hard to see if you're having to search for them manually. Having them highlighted by the app is really, really helpful. Let's not do that. Oh my gosh, that's quite a big snarl there. Let's see if you will cooperate. Got it. Excellent. Yeah, you can see where that knot was because it put a kink in the floss there. Oh, I said 5.5 by the end of the month, but actually maybe even 6% is doable. We shall see. So my goal is 5% per month on this pattern, because that would get me done in 20 months, which was what my first estimate is. But we'll see if we manage to get past that. So I do 5% per month on this one and 1% on Firefly. And then I'm also working on the Ocarina of Time, but that one I don't have any goals because, yeah, that one I'm just doing all the background and it's just sort of, I do maybe 40 or 50 stitches a night on it, just a little bit at a time to slowly get that, all that background done. Yeah, I think it'll be years until I get to the color parts of that pattern. Yeah, so this helped me see that that is a different color because, yeah, If stitching it just on paper, my pardon me, my eye could get tricked quite easily by those symbols there. Okay, not a lot of this color, so don't think we need a full-length piece here. Pardon me, yeah, that smoke in the air is really bothering me, so I sound funny. Okay, I think we'll do a couple more stitches and then I'm gonna take a break. But yeah, that was really productive session. Oh, look at that, my gosh. Oh, that looks terrible. Okay, there we go. There, that's better. Went where it was supposed to go. Okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna call it a day there, but look at that, 263 stitches. So that was a very productive session today. Made a lot of progress. So probably next session, we're gonna be working on his beak, is what I'm thinking is where I'm gonna get to. So we'll see. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today and hope to see you here again another time. All right, thanks everyone.